Hello and welcome to another video, and today, when I normally say something a little bit different, this one is something a little bit different. We are covering ghosts and UFOs, and you think that's a strange combination, but I won't say this is a strange place, but it is an interesting place. We are looking at, and I keep saying this wrong, Waldringfield, and it's in Suffolk. And the way I describe it is you go up the A12, you go over the bridge at Ipswich, and then you swing a right before you end up in Lowestoft. Yeah, it's on it's a very, very pleasant little village. It's got quite a history, very much a local out in the sticks little village, and become a lot more busy in the late 19th century when it was being used as the main shipping drop-off point for the barges doing cements. So there's a cement industry up the road, and that is where the barges used to come in, collect the cement and go off. That was sort of like got rid of in 1907, but over that period of time the village started to grow, and more that the village grew, the sailing community grew. Now the lake over there is absolutely stunning, and it's like the river, so it is it's gone out there onto the main body of water. But more than that is that the community that grew up around the sailing club really sort of thrived, absolutely thrived. But what we're going to be looking at, one of the locations today, is now called the Bush Inn. But that started life as a old farmhouse. Now, talking to locals up there the other day, they weren't too sure when to date it. They know that this was a farmhouse in 1745, and that's sort of like the first time it was recorded as a alehouse. But the building they know was a lot older, and they don't think it was sort of just like 50 years older. So you're looking around about 1660, something around that time that this building was built. Yeah, over the years, as I say, it changed its name from the Cliffs Inn, but it's also called the Bush. Went through a change of name several times, and what we're looking at is not the pub itself. Right outside the pub area and walking down the river. This is heading on the left hand side as you go down the river, overlooking probably the widest point of that river. And if you go right, it takes you past the sailing club, and then you go down, it takes you right out to Felixstowe. What brought me to this area? It was actually Eliza Sexton. Now, she was only 19 when she got caught stealing, and I'll read out a part off of the Bush. It's on their own website. So where we get to, in 1844, his servant Eliza Sexton, 19, a single woman, was convicted of stealing 3 penny pieces and 2 halfpennies. It doesn't sound a lot, but apparently her punishment was quite harsh, and her family disowned her. I'm not sure if she lost her life around that time, but it does seem that she may have lost her life not long after that. I'm basing this on a local person that contacted me about 10 years ago, and he was asking Thurrock Paranormal to go up and do an investigation. We weren't really doing them then, and at that time we weren't really doing them. It weren't in Thurrock, so we didn't really want to stray outside that area. But I took an interest in this because there was something else that happened in that area that sparked my interest, and this is about UFOs. But I will tell you the ghost stories first, and then we'll move on to the UFOs. So Waldringfield has been a very, very tight community up until really 1950, and I'll show you a map here. So this is taken from Google Earth, and you can see that in 1945 it still hasn't developed much at all. Now here's a recent aerial photo from Google Earth, and you can see how it's expanded. So when you talk about communities in 1950 knowing everybody and knowing everybody's business, you can understand why. It wasn't a massive community. As I say, this sort of like this place expanded during the cement industry with all the barges, and then it sort of shrunk back down, and a lot of the industry moved away. There used to be kilns there that were knocked down, and all that sort of just went, and it was left back to this little community. And I believe if it wasn't for the sailing club, This place probably would have just gone the way of a lot of other little villages around the coast of the country and just would have been wiped out. You know, quite often when I drove the coastline of the country, I'd go past some rundown buildings or some empty lands, and I talk to people that are walking along. They'll say, oh yeah, this used to be this village here, and you know, the industry moved away and it all collapsed. And I think the sailing club actually saved this place from literally going. The sailing club comes up more in the UFO story, and I know maybe locals are going to watch this and be going, well, I don't know nothing of this, I don't know nothing of this. There is more foundation to these stories about the UFOs, and you'll see why. But going back to the pub, some people say that Thomas Carter, now I believe he was the landlord there in 1867. Some old bar staff turn around and say that they believe that Thomas is one responsible for the figures sitting in the bar and for the figures down in the cellar. They also believe he's the one that moves things around. As I say, you get this a lot in pubs. We spoke about that in the previous video. And you can understand that. Now, a lot of people will say it's because the bar staff have either had too many when they're drinking, or that they've been working long hours and they start misseeing things and all that. And it's quite plausible. That could be the reason for it. But at one point, now this is going back to 1980, I hope a local will comment on this. We have a barmaid that isn't locking up, she's opening up. So she gets there early to get ready everything for the day. She's apparently turning the pumps on when she hears a voice up in the bar area. She goes up and she's calling out for who is meant to be there. She knows there's somebody else in the building, but they're not around. And then she hears her name being called at the far end of the bar. So she walks round and again there's nobody there. And then the lady comes downstairs and she goes, was she calling me? She goes, no, didn't hear nothing. She goes, I've been upstairs all the time. She goes, I definitely heard a voice calling me in the other bar area. As she says that, her name again is called out again. This time both of them hear that name being called out. They both walk around into that bar area and again they can't see anything. They're sort of puzzled by this. A few days go on and the other lady is there opening up, getting ready to open stuff up. Her name gets called out. Is this a practical joke that is going on? How does a ghost know people's names? I know that has come up before in other investigations, that they can, if they're there, they've been watching and all the stuff that's been going on and they're aware of who is who. It's not a malevolent spirit, it's what you call a nosy one. They're understanding today's life, basically. But she thinks it's the other girl playing a trick on her. So she's not taking it seriously. And then she's doing her business and the girl, the other barmaid, turns up for work. The woman's a little bit puzzled, thinking I thought she was already here and that she was one that said my name. So she starts questioning her. She's going, no, I did not say anything. A few days later, they are both in the bar and they're cleaning up. So this is when the bar is shutting. They're cleaning up. They see a figure of a lady standing by the doors and she turns around and says the first barmaid's name before disappearing. One local tells them that that is the ghost of Eliza Saxton. That is when they asked the local about the story and what happened to her. Now, according to the local, his name was Jeffrey, or his last name was Jeffrey or Jeffers. So if you're local, you may know that and know who this person was. He filled them in on the story, and the way he told the story was that Eliza Saxton, when she got convicted, she was either meant to pay the money back or she could work hard labour. She chose to do hard labour because she had no way of paying this money back, and she passed away, and she is said to haunt that building. Other people say that she didn't pass away and she went on to live a healthy life. So, and she doesn't haunt it, and whoever does haunt it is a different person. But the name Eliza has come up again. I know that maybe this bar doesn't like all the paranormal stuff. I spoke to some locals there and they didn't really want to talk much about it. Two of them did, and they told me a lot of other stuff, and we referenced the UFO stuff, which was quite cool actually, because I already knew about that, and then they sort of like acknowledged it as well. This goes back to something that happened on the barges. So when I was talking to the two local people, they mentioned that they don't know about Eliza, but they know about a girl that is meant to have drowned in the river just in front of Bush, and apparently she fell off a barge. Now, she was a young child, and apparently she was there helping her father working on the barge, and she fell off and lost her life, and she is said to haunt that shore. When people have been out in their sailing boats, they say they hear a splashing sound and a girl's voice, and they're looking around and they can't see her, and that is when people say this is this ghost of this girl. The next part of this story is something that I particularly enjoy, and that is a Saxon ghost. And this is where you see me here. I'm walking along the foreshore, or I don't know, the bank of the river. Along this bank, around about 1920, this is when the sailing club really started up. Reports started coming in of a mysterious figure being seen walking along that area. Now, apparently at that time, there's more farms along there. There's a few dwellings along there. People started noticing this figure. No one's really sort of like approached this figure, and it was always a bit of a rumour and a myth, and saying, oh yeah, maybe it's this ghost and that ghost, and oh no, it's the bogeyman and all this sort of stuff. So apparently kids were scared of going down there at night time in case they bumped into the devil or something like that. Over the next 30 years, the reports started coming in that this was seen as a ghost of a Saxon fighter. Now, I don't know if that's because just up the river you had the boat, Saxon boat that was found, and the Sutton Hoe Saxon finds. It becomes more relevant when you find that the Saxons were basically embedded around the area, quite significant. Their activities were quite big around that point. Does weigh weight to why there would be a Saxon walking along that bank. Now, maybe he lost his life. But we don't get no interaction until 1970. Right, before I tell this story, I'm going to say one bit. The guy has given his name as John Smith. Right? So he clearly did not want to be known when he made this report. But in 1970, he says that he brings his boat and moors up by the bush, and they get out and they go have a drink, and they're planning to stay in that area, and they're not meant to be staying in that area. So I don't know how things worked back then, and I don't know if you had to pay to moor up or whatever, but he was not meant to be mooring up where he was. He moves just further down the river. He moors up on a post along the bank. He's sitting there on his boat, and we don't have a description of what boat it was, if it was a yacht or a big boat or a small boat. He just moors up there. He's there with his wife. They're sitting out and they're having a few drinks. They see this figure walk along the bank, and they're like, oh, someone's come up to have a go at us. The figure carries on walking and walks past, and then the moon just glints on the side of this figure. This is what interests me. The moonlight lights up the Saxon armour of this man and the clothing that he's wearing. If he's a ghost, how does moonlight reflect off of him? Just putting it out there. I don't want to debunk all this stuff, but we've got to take, these reports are what people have given, and we take it at face value, okay? Because there are other reports of this Saxon, and so it's not the only one that we go on. But being this guy was doing something probably that he wasn't allowed to do, and he made the report anyway, and this was made at Ipswich, so he obviously was quite local. He probably lived at Ipswich and come out of Ipswich and went up there, and you know, I don't know why he didn't just do it properly. I'm sure they could have allowed him to do it, but him and his wife are watching this Saxon man walking down the river, and I guess fancy dress may not have been a thing back then, because I probably would have gone straight to maybe it's a fancy dress thing from the pub or something like that. So to take a break. This is Pepsi Max, by the way, nothing strong. It is so hot. It's nice, it's not hot, it's muggy, clammy. I just want a big thunderstorm. As I was up at I nearly said where I was going in. I went to a place today and filmed, and I was walking around the building, and I went into this house and walking around, and all these tiny little rooms and all that, and it was like, I just couldn't bear it. It was so clammy and muggy. And then I went out and I filmed down this little lane area, and you got all these trees that are really, really narrow, and there's just no air. I feel like I know like trees are meant to be good for the environment, but I actually felt like the air, I actually felt like the trees were sucking all the oxygen out. I was like, I get asthma, and I was like running around trying to find my pump. But yeah, it weren't good. It weren't pretty. And I got back in the car, and thank God I put the aircon on. And oh yeah, by the way, thank you for your message about the MOT. The MOT, it passed. But yeah, it passed. We won't move. We'll move on from that. But I bought the part today. It's only an advisory. It's going to get fixed. Someone turned around and said about the costs of making these videos, and it shows that I don't do it to make money. Today I've spent about £40-50 and just to make the video that's going to film soon, and my videos make about £4 £4 per video. Something like that. I think it works out about £3 something 1,000 views I get. So yeah, I'm really rolling in the money. It's yeah, I put £10 petrol, I'm already in debt, so but do it for the love of it. So anyway, for getting back where we were, the Saxon, right? So the Saxon's walking. It's hot, forgive me, and I'm just dragging out the video as well. Need to knock up those 26 minutes somehow. As I say, normally it goes well past that, and I end up cutting those off. And but yeah, but thank you for your comments on the Ratman video. Now, some of your opinions on there really did make me laugh. But yeah, it is a weird place. I know that some of you have been there and you come back and you said about it. Yeah, it's a weird story, but I'm glad so many people did know it. I'm not surprised that other people didn't know it. And so, yeah, it is just an interesting one. And the last video I posted last night at Whitstable, you know, that was great. Me finding out all that about can't think of his name. I think Charles Dance. Charles Dance. Peter Cushing. I can't think of his name. Peter Cushing. Finding all out about Peter Cushing stuff was really, really good. And when I was making that video, I cut a lot out. And the reason I cut a lot out, not just that the video was getting quite long, was that when I was retelling some of the stories, not that I didn't believe them, that they just didn't fit the narrative of the video I was putting together. It just didn't feel right when I was writing it. Does that make sense? And it was about Conan Doyle's wife doing a seance in the old theatre that went on to be the Peter Cushing place, and apparently that Conan Doyle's wife got told some words that only Conan Doyle would know, and all this. It just didn't feel right to fit into that video, and it's not right me add it into this video. So let's get back to the Saxon ghost. Waffling on again. It's the heat. I blame it on the heat. Anyway, so John Smith and I don't know what her name is, Fanny Adams. They're on their boat, they're watching this Saxon man walking down. The man goes to his wife, I'm going to go and explore. He gets off the boat. I don't know how he done that. Must be a little rowing boat or something. Unless he's parked so close to the bank that he could actually jump off. But when I was there, it does seem that those posts that he may have moored at were quite far away from the bank. So there might have been another little boat he got to come off. He went up and he's on the bank. He's walking along. He can't see this figure at all. He turns back round, and where his boat is, his wife is standing there watching him. And the Saxon figure is actually behind him, walking past his boat again. So again, so now we know that this got to be something supernatural. He couldn't have got behind him. He goes to his wife, can you see him? Can you see him? And she's going, no, I can't see nothing. He's going, he's right there. He is right there. He says that this Saxon soldier is walking along that bank and walks right through him before disappearing. Again, it's a creepy story, but I'm not going to say take it with a pinch of salt. This only come about roughly around that time that the burial mounds were probably found over the other side of the Saxon ships. Does this person know? Being here from Ipswich, probably knows a lot more about the old Saxon stuff. Did he just make up this story to interest his friends, and it's fallen into somebody's report and they've published it and put it out there? Again, pinch of salt time. What I was more interested in is the lady that he's seen on that bank. Now, she's seen of an evening, and she's meant to be in a panic. And she's seen running along that bank, stopping and looking into the water, as if she's lost something. The reason why this is interesting is that this has been seen since 1901. Now, being a lot of the kilns and all that and the industrial area did not end till 1907, it plays into the hands that there's a lot more people around that area at the time. We know the industry was ending around that period of time, so the population grew and is about to shrink back down. This lady is seen walking along that bank, looking into the river and looking panicked and stressed. She's seen by several workers that are down there heading down to the pub after working all day, and they say that they went out to try and help this lady to see what she was looking for. When they got out there, they can't find her and she's disappeared. Yet a few weeks later, other workers along there say they see the same thing, this lady running up and down looking into the river. I've noticed that recently I've been doing a lot of moving of hands around in my videos. Got to calm it down a little bit. Now, the next report we get is 1912. By this time, the village is sort of like eased back down. It's gone back to its small status, and the only people that are living there are the residents. The industry has basically gone, and there's limited amount of barges out on the riverside. What were starting to come in was, I believe, the residents then managed to go to their old Thames barges, and they started using that as sort of more like their leisure time. That is where we get more people going out on the river for pleasure. Now, I'm guessing that before that, there's so many barges on that river that people didn't really get to enjoy it. But this is where we get more and more reports of people out on the river seeing this lady walking along that bank. Now, this is a little bit further on from where the Saxon was seen. So in one part of my video, I'm walking to one part. I'm walking to one length of it, and then after that I walk a little bit further to the point where the lady is seen looking over into the river. I believe behind that now there's a nature reserve. I'm not sure what that was before, but this is the point where that lady is. So if you go for a walk along now, go to the furthest point before it forks out, I believe. But this is where there's a nature reserve behind it, and you can look out over the river. Right there is where that lady stands and seems to be looking over into the river trying to find whatever she's trying to look for. People out on the boats turn around and say they only ever see her of an evening, and normally around about 6 o'clock. Now, that's quite early for a ghostly spirit. Normally these ghost stories get told sort of late at night, midnight. This is more around about the dusk time in autumn, and this again is when she is seen most. I'm not saying that there's no reports of her being seen in the winter or in the summer, but it does seem to be more of a collection of September reports of this lady, which would fall into more of a dusk type light, and I guess that's quite eerie as it is, but those reports give quite a good detail of what this lady looks like. They describe her, and it's quite an interesting description, because they describe her as wearing a short dress. Short dresses were not a thing back in those times. Other people turned around and said she's wearing almost like a pinny, not like an undergarment, a slip, not proper fully clothed. Now, could that also be an old swimming costume? I know more Victorian ladies and back in that time normally wore the full dresses, but some extravagant ones would wear more of a short type of dress. Now we're going to like 1912, 1921, around that period of time where these reports come from, but descriptions are quite accurate where they're saying that they're describing the type of dress she's wearing, and it is different to what they would normally see. Could this be a lady that is trying to escape somebody and is looking a way of getting onto a boat or getting down off that riverbank, trying to get away from someone? We don't have any reports of misadventure along part of that bank, and I say I don't know what condition that bank was back then. Walking along it now, you can imagine that it's not really changed much apart from the nature reserve behind it, because I believe there used to be maybe a building behind it at one point, or maybe where the kilns were, or going back up those fields up there. You know, the industry around the area was mainly farming until that industry came in, and it was just farming around there, and it was trying to get back to its own roots again and farming. One of the old landlords of the bush, he gave up being a landlord after 10 years and went back and moved out. I think it was Milford's farm. He went off, or Milton's farm. He went and farmed that. So it was all about bringing that industry back to where it was. Actually, that might have been a little bit sooner, later than 1920. So I think that might have been 1890 or something like that. But again, the farming industry was around there quite important. Could this be someone from one of the farms that is trying to escape? We still had servants around that time in the late 19th century. Could she be a servant that's trying to escape? No, we know, going back in time, about the Saxton lady, Eliza Saxton. Could this be Eliza? Could Eliza be haunting this? We only have these hearsay reports of her being charged and whatever. We don't have the reports of exactly what happened to her. Was their own type of punishment dealt out there as well? We had that in Whitstable. Could we have it here? And it is quite interesting. But we are going to move on now to the UFOs. This is where some of you may switch off, and please don't, stick with it. Also, hit that subscribe button and hit the like button, and just put any comment you want below. It's really helping at the moment, trying to get my views up, and more than £3 a video, it'd be nice. But yeah, so the UFOs, why does this come into UFOs? Rendlesham Forest. Now you'll probably know about the Rendlesham Forest incident. This is the American airman. Rendlesham is just a few miles up the road, and when that event happened, this may have caused other events to happen elsewhere. So the Rendlesham UFO sighting happened in 1980. In 1981, we have reports coming from Waldringfield, and I'm not saying they're massively different, but they're interesting. Now, as the crow flies, there's only a 5-mile difference between where Rendlesham is and where Waldringfield is. They would have known everything about it, so the information would have spread quite wide. They probably had local people that probably even might have worked at the airbase that knew this. Now, if you're not familiar with the Rendlesham UFOs, this was a group of American airmen that see a light in the forest. They went to investigate it. They believe it was a UFO. There's audio recordings of their transcripts of them going through the forest. Their interviews are recorded. If you go back to one of my old videos with Neil Nixon, my UFO, because he's a UFOologist and he's an author. He was also my old media studies teacher. And yeah, he never gave me good marks. I do talk about that in the video for the first 20 minutes. I was just bullying him over not giving me good scores. But go back, because we do cover that in there. And I do cover, what did I say? Something really embarrassing in that video. I say the Van Halen belt. Oh, that's cringeworthy. Yeah, I didn't mean that. But, yeah, so the UFO side of it. What happened? 1981, December 1981, so we're really going 1982, really. December 1981, the father and son are out on the river, and what I need to make clear is that they know what normal military planes look like, and they're used to seeing all types of planes landing over by the airbase. So I know people can say, oh, it's a military plane. They know what they look like. They know what helicopters look like. They're out on the boat, and they say they are almost up by the bank where that lady is seen, and they're looking across, and it's to where you can see the White House on the other side of the bank. Behind that, and behind those trees, they say they see a blue light rises up, hovers for about 15 seconds, and then rockets up into the sky. They look at each other and really shocked by what they've seen, and they're saying, oh, is it military, or going through all the explanations they can think of. But nothing they knew could go up that high, hover, and then rocket up. A few days later, they've got some friends that are coming out onto that boat with them to particularly see what they can see at the night sky. They are there till 4 o'clock in the morning. Just before 4 o'clock in the morning, they see a blue light come down from the sky. It hovers, moves across the lake, so this is now coming towards them. They describe it as almost like a cigar shape, which is very much different to what the Rendlesham thing was. That was more like a diamond triangular shape. This is a cigar shape, which is more of the generic UFO sightings around that time in America, the cigar shaped UFOs. And what they describe it as that it was spinning. This is very unusual. I've not really heard of a spinning cigar shaped UFO, but they said each side of it had different lights on it, and it was spinning really, really fast. It came over towards them. It hovered about a quarter mile away before again rocketing up into the sky and shooting off. Again, no explanation for it. This time, other people that were getting up early, now this would have been farmers or other people like that, actually backed up their story. Now, I don't know if they're backing up that story of that particular morning or the one before when they first see that light. But over the next few weeks, we get around about 4 or 5 more reports of this UFO going along the river before shooting up in the sky and disappearing. Apparently, one of them contacted the aviation authorities, and they got no record of any activity in that sky at that time. If this was a military plane or a secret military vehicle, airbase were not admitting to it, especially after what has just happened with the other Rendlesham stuff the year before. But also, you've got to take it with a pinch of salt that after UFO events, there's more and more reports that come out. Very much like the Rendlesham original sighting didn't come out long after Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Does mind play tricks on people? And you got to remember that Roswell, the original American Roswell, Area 51 stuff, that didn't become popular. Although that happened in like 1950s, that didn't become really, really well known until like the 1980s, when everyone started talking about it, after films like Close Encounters come out. And yes, I just looked up Roswell and it was 1947. So, you know, even more so that they didn't really gain popularity till didn't become popular till sort of the 80s, and that's when we started getting the fake alien videos coming out and all that sort of stuff. So you've got to question that our psychology is very much influenced by media and film. And when this event happened here, Close Encounters was 1977. Rendlesham was 1980. Really close. That film probably didn't get released in the UK till 78. So UFOs, it was a massive film. And yeah, it's what was the other one that came out there? The Invasion of Body Snatchers and all that sort of films all come around that sort of time. So it became very, very popular in our culture. But there is another explanation that a local person come up with, that he appeared on a local radio station regarding these sightings. And that apparently he studied the sky, and he was one of the people that reported the sightings at Rendlesham, and he carried on watching the skies for the next 10 years over that area. He reported these sightings that the people on the boats reported. So we've got another one there reporting that. Was there something, was there a military plane or something like that they were seeing? It was secret, top secret, that no one knew about. I know that Bluebird flew over here, and the stealth bombers, no one ever admitted what they were, and the stealth bomber was responsible for loads of UFO reports around the world because no one knew what it was, and it was never admitted to. Again, these sort of things at the moment are more common. We've had the orbs again. These orbs I did see an explanation for some of the orbs that are currently on TikTok at the moment, where you see these little small ones floating around and all that, and someone put them on fishing wire and flying a drone above them and just filming the orb going around below. So you've got to remember, fakery has always been a part of UFO stuff and from paranormal stuff. The ghost stuff, you've always had people faking the ghost videos. But with this one, I don't believe these people are not telling the truth. I believe they see what they see. I don't know what they see. It's near a military airbase. I'm not unconvinced it wasn't a military plane that they didn't know about, or that no one knew about, that has triggered these sightings. Let me know if you want more UFO ones, because I've put this one in here because I happen to be going to the same place where a few ghost stories were and the UFO was, so I've joined them together. Let me know if you want more UFOs, because I've got loads of UFOs. Also, I'm doing another type of video at the moment. It's come together over a period of months, because what's happened recently, we've been getting more reports of wild animals in Essex. These are the black beast and the big black cat. Not to confuse with an animal that's coming up in my next video. But I've been driving down these roads where they've been reported, and literally I'm just driving down the roads. And they're all in sort of like country lane areas where there's big open fields and all that. I'm trying to gather as much footage and information on what's going on at the moment. There is a gentleman that did contact me about the wild animals and the beasts and all that have been seen around the area. The wildcat reportings. Get back in touch with me. I've lost contact with you. Also, talking about that, let me know if you got your monks. Right, I posted out the monks, and I think I've got 4 people that have come back to me and said they've got them. If you haven't got them, let me know. Only the people that I've replied to and said I'll send you one. If you haven't got them, contact me again. I posted all them out. I posted all of them out and I don't know what's going on with my post office. I did say that my post office is a nightmare, but I'm pretty annoyed by it. It wasn't cheap posting all them off, and if you haven't got them, I'm going to change my post office over them, because yeah, that's not on. And I've posted them off well over 2 weeks ago now, came out to 3 weeks ago, and you should have got them. So, but again, thank you for all your comments, thank you for all your support, thank you to my new members, thank you so much. You don't have to join my membership. I appreciate every single one of you that joins my membership. It really helps me a lot. Yeah, these videos that keep going 2 a week at the moment, it's tough, we're getting there, and when it's only getting pushing up to that 5,000, closer and closer, and YouTube still hates me, so we're not getting pushed out there enough. But we can't change that, can we, eh? We're in this together. As long as you enjoy my content. I apologise for the music being too loud halfway through my last video. There was a setting there that I did not spot, and it got really loud for about 6 minutes and then quieted back down again. I hope you liked the barman in my last video. The guy is an absolute legend, and I just think he was brilliant. And yeah, again, thank you. This video will go up on this Friday, and I'll do another one for Tuesday. Already filmed it. I ain't filmed this part of it yet, but I've been there, filmed it all, so there's an interesting one as well. Take care, don't get too hot. Hope we get a thunderstorm. I'll see you soon. Bye.